me to stay here. Boy, you're making it hard for me to be your love. So cool down some more.
Baby, make me tell you this, I won't waste no time, I'll be proceeding quick. The way you're moving lately got me feeling sick. Like say you forgot, you know you're dealing with. Man, I real quick when I'm at work non-stop. You not cook no dinner when I come back. Something wrong with ya, come out from that. If me walk and leave ya, me not come back.
You're falling, but you don't wanna fall too hard. You're falling, but you don't wanna fall apart. 'Cause it might break if I give you my heart and you hold on too hard. So cool down some more, some more. Cool down some more, cool now, please me. Cool now, some more. Cool down, love. Cool now, some more. Cool now, please me. Cool now, some more, some more. Boy, you make it too hard for me to stay here. Boy, you're making it hard for me to be your love.
I was good on my own, that's the way it was. That's the way it was. You was good on the low for I'm so faded like you complaining for. Feeling jaded up. Used to just kick it to you. Had some fun on the run, though I give it to you. But baby, don't get it twisted. You was just another on the hit list. Tryna fix any issues. Didn't they tell you that I was a savage? Busting a carriage, but you never could imagine. Never thought you could have it. You needed me. Ooh, you needed me. A little more, give a little less. Now you hit the compass, but baby, who you need? Tryna fix any issues with a bad bitch. Didn't I tell you that I was a savage? Get white horse in a carriage, but you never could imagine. Never thought you could have it. You needed me. Ooh, you needed me.
Because health shouldn't be boring.
Feel the energy rise. Health is here to stay.
Tune in and join the fun on Wash 94.9, your #1 fun health radio.
Wash 94.9, make your health divine. Feel the energy rise. Health is here to stay. With each healthy moment, smile along your way.
This Sunday night, the heat is on Boiling Point Arena. It's the 37th edition, and this time, the conversation dives deep into Nigeria's economic reality. Join Professor Fᴏʟʟᴏᴏᴡ and Professor Godwin Oyedokun as they dissect the topic. economic narratives versus lived realities, measuring the real impact of government policies on household survival in Nigeria. Date Sunday, November the 9th, 2025. Time 8 p.m. Host Dr. Ayo Arowojolu. Don't miss this exclusive edition. Join the conversation live, online, via Zoom, and on our partner radio stations nationwide, and be part of the national dialogue that shapes tomorrow's Nigeria.
Lagos, Nigeria. Good evening to you and welcome to your health-centric radio station. It's Wash 94.9 FM. It is the 11th, the 9th day in the month of November 2025, and it's that moment, that hour we've been waiting for, talking about boiling points. My name is Anthony Dalmelda. A very good evening to you from whatever part of the world you might be listening listening today on the broadcast. Of course, I'm not here alone this evening. I've got my amiable Dr. Ayarojulu with us this evening. Doctor, it's a pleasure doing this with you.
Thank you very much, Dalmelda. You're debuting today. Good luck. Thank you.
Yes, I can't wait, to see what we have for you this evening, especially by our analyst, by our guest on the boiling points this evening. For those that might not be aware, if you're joining this program for the first time, just like you might be hearing my voice on this broadcast for the first time, Boiling Point Arena is a monthly discourse, right, that is geared at igniting conversations around governance, leadership, accountability, and nation building. And tonight's edition, just like several ones held in the past, is a big one that no one would like to miss. It's about the state of the economy in our dear country, Nigeria. And before I even introduce to you the conversations we'll be having, or the topic we will be having this evening, please, it's important that you to be inviting our convener host, my co-host this evening, in person of Dr. Ayo Arojolu, to lead us into that particular conversation. Dr. Ayo.
Thank you very much. Nice voice there. By the way, hello, welcome to everyone. I'm glad to be here on Boiling Point Arena. Ayo Arojolu is my name. Tonight's edition is an all-important one. In any conversation having to do with the economy, to me, virtually everyone is an expert, even the man on the street. We all ply the market, and the situation is likely to be the same whether yours is Oyinbo market, my 12, Kuto market in Abeokuta, Ariara market in Aba, or the markets in Kano. Boiling Point Arena where we dish out to the global audience discourses that interrogate issues germane to nation buildings. And with God's help and enablement, and of course, your regular consistent participation. Last month's edition was a special third year anniversary episode. And by this 37th installment, we move into the 4th year. Glory be to God. Courtesy of possibilities of media convergence, Boiling Point Arena is essentially a town hall meeting via Zoom, and as well a hybrid program on mainstream airwaves as 6 different radio stations across Lagos, Ogun, and Delta states broadcast the discourse live. Check us out as we speak. We are live on Wash 94.9 FM in Lagos, Sweet 107.1 FM, Abeokuta, Roots 97.1 FM, also in Abeokuta, Erimbe 94.7 FM, Shagamu, Women Radio 91.7 FM, Mowi, and Cruise 92.1 FM, all the way from Asaba. Let me mention that we are going to miss, for once, the constant face of our keynote speaker, the Olowu of Owu Kingdom, talking about Kábíyèsí, Oba Professor Sakama Temilola, who is presently in transit and away to other locations. But well, not to worry. The royal canopy of Obama Temilola's brother monarch and personal friend of his, the Olota of Ota and the paramount ruler of Awori land, Oba Professor Adeyemi Obalanlege, is standing by here as keynote speaker and chair to herald the discourse. Oba Professor Obalanlege, by the way, is highly cerebral media professional and professor of mass communication. In the meantime, it's time to unveil our eminent guests. That assignment is to be handled by Anthony Damelda.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction, Dr. Ayo. It's always a delight to hear, you chip in your thoughts and insights as to what we are always here for. And just as he has hinted, I'll be introducing to you our guest this evening. As you can always trust us to bring to you nothing but a premium, exclusive, and talk about very intellectual persons and personalities that would continue to provide insight, ensure that we break down the concept of the conversations we tend to have here on the Boiling Point. And in no order sequence whatsoever, allow me to unveil this evening, right? And permit me to also share the profile of our discussant, so you can, know these personalities even better. We have this morning a full professor of communication in the journalism and emerging media major, at Kennesaw State University School of Communication and Media, whose research over the years has won national and international laurels. He teaches graduate and undergraduate courses in news reporting, writing, narrative journalism, journalism history, media law, public communication, research methods, global communication, human communication. I could go on and on. The list is absolutely endless. And through his research, which broadly explores the intersection between communication in a global context and the singularities of the communicative practices of marginal groups within it, He's also published scholarly papers in how linguistic minorities and peripheral transnational societies deploy their indigenous languages, for mass communication. He's interested in a lot, transnational mass media, mass mediated online discourses of marginalized diasporas in the West, which he studies by examining the alternative and citizen online journalistic practices, previously disempowered third world ethnoscapes. If I keep on Lagos, I do not necessarily want us to, I don't want to get us carried away with all of that profile, but he's more widely acclaimed as an erudite columnist, particularly his notes from Atlanta column. And we're talking about none other than Professor Farouk Barogi. It's a pleasure having you join us this evening on the discourse, Professor. If you're with us, let's quickly hear you say something. Can we have Professor Farouk Barogi?
Muted. I can.
Professor Farouk, perhaps you can unmute your mic so we can hear you. So Nigerians as well can hear you. All right, perhaps we get, okay, we have him now. We have you. Can we hear you? Okay, hopefully we're able to get a professor's connection stable.
I think he's unmuted now. Prof?
Yes, can you hear me?
That's clear. That's clear.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Thank you so much, Professor Farouk. It's an absolute delight having you join us this evening on The Boiling Point. Also, this evening, we've got a distinguished scholar practitioner with over 2 decades of experience in forensic accounting, financial development, taxation, and public policy. He's a professor of accounting, financial development at Leeds City University in Ibadan, Nigeria here. Also a professor of forensic accounting and audit at Charisma University, USA and UK. And also a visiting professor at several other institutions. He's got very intimidating credentials, right? He's a lifelong learner who probably would not put a full stop in his search for knowledge. And, to start with, he began from the very bottom of the ladder, the usual OND, HND, BSc, another BSc, including a third bachelor's LLB in law and an LLM. Altogether, 4 master's degree and 3 PhDs. Permit me to say in our local parlance, do am if easy. For Lagos, Nigeria, I want you to welcome with us as well. This evening is sought after intellectual who has presented various technical seminars, papers at conferences, training, and seminars in no other person, than Professor Godwin Emmanuel Oyedokun. Good evening to you, Professor. It's a delight as well having you join us.
Good evening, and thank you. One of the best today. Thank
absolutely,
you.
Absolutely.
Professor Farouk, I greet you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So, Lagos, these are personalities that will be sharing
were quite high that an experienced political leader who had claimed to have built and transformed Lagos was coming to reverse the misfortune. Owing largely to the abrupt removal of fuel subsidy and flotation of the nation's currency, the Naira, on day one of the Tinubu administration, the journey to suffering, hardship, and hunger has been on full speed in Nigeria, with no hope in sight or relief for the common man. What remains baffling are the series of positive economic narratives backed by official statistics that government continue to reel out, while the masses of the country continue to grapple with how to survive and are being plunged into deeper poverty. In many cases, a particular record gave a scary situation that about 191 million Nigerians are not sure of their next meal. That's about 74.1% of the entire populace. Well, that was a statistics. It was not from me. Incidentally, it came from one federal director in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. It was in the media. That's about 74.1% of the populace. Even the World Bank and IMF have been unsparing of their concern about the Nigerian situation. Well, on October 1, during Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary, President Tinubu, so to speak, boasted that Nigeria has turned around the corner and that the worst is over. All of us clapped, and I'm clapping. That was a good news. Following the president's declaration, food prices started falling. But unfortunately, inflation has yet persisted. The complaints and grumblings from the streets are that life has never been this hard, not even in the Buhari era, when the average car owner can fill his petrol tank of about 50 liters for 2 weeks. Era when the average car owner can fill his petrol tank of about 50 liters for 2 weeks usage with a pittance of 10,000 naira, which is now just about 2 gallons presently, which can do a full day's trip to and from work. Well, the way it is now, there are, just a minute. Okay, I beg your pardon. Government say there is now relief for Nigerians when the market realities say different thing altogether. The question on the lips of Nigerians is, how do we explain these contradictions? And I am glad we have 2 eminent professors. They live up to their billing tonight. Is this relief without relief a failure of policy, communication, or reality itself? When government officials claim prices are falling, what exactly are they measuring? Does it reflect what happens in the real markets? Secondly, given this scenario, economic realities versus official statistics, how credible are Nigeria's inflation figures from the National Bureau of Statistics? I think we need to dig into it tonight. Could it be that the data is correct, but it doesn't capture the daily struggle of the ordinary Nigerians? Or are we facing an inflation perception crisis where people feel poorer even when data shows improvement? Looking at policy and governance angles, what specific policies have influenced the current economic situations? Are these policies addressing production and supply issues, or merely controlling prices on paper? Well, all these and many more are to be interrogated by Professor Farouk Berogi and Professor Godwin Oyedokun tonight under the topic Economic Narratives versus Lived Realities, Measuring the Real Impact of Government Policies on Household Survival in Nigeria. Well, thank you so much. Ayo Aruwujolu is my name. Without wasting time, we will take you to the Olota of Ota, who is the chair and keynote speaker, Oba Adeyemi Obalanlege, who, by the way, should be, yes, Kabisi should be there. Yeah? While we wait for Obalanlege, if he's not there, we'll go to the firing lines, or the boiling ring, as we put it. Thank you very much. Welcome one more time, Professor Farouk and Professor Oyedokun. I think we are good to go. Let me. Who goes first? let me go. Who goes first among you?
Yes, I think you should do that. Let's do the honors.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Let me take on Professor Farouk. Professor Farouk interests me a lot. And this particular discourse will be is wearing his fourth cap. He was here last year, or maybe early this year. He was here last year. He was here even the upper year. And I remember when we addressed one topic called Tinubunomics. That was when we reviewed the subsidy removal. And one thing, I believe in him. You know, when you are consistent, there were predictions he made. He made a prediction. You know, a lot of us just went by the euphoria. All the presidential candidates then, they said they will remove fuel subsidy. Everybody appeared to have agreed that it must go. But I remember, I was an analyst on radio almost 2 months. And I have been saying it. I said, you are going to remove subsidy. That is not news to me. What 1, 2, 3 thing will you do when you remove subsidy? I didn't hear PIM from any of the candidates. Well, it has happened. I am throwing the first salvo, firing that one at Professor Farouk. You know, the road taken and the road not taken. I remember you prophesied. Maybe you are a prophet now. You said it's a weaponized wickedness against Nigerians. And you explained that one of the consequences we will see is that Nigerians will go back to the Stone Age. I didn't understand. A professor told me, if I saw the jack, he had a tire deflection. So he put out the jack and the jack was not working because of the way more money, and you can only buy few things. He said he didn't have money. So he took that jack to a welder, a professor, and they had to just manage it. He told me he's still using the thing, that after all, what's in a jack? It's just to weld some things together. That I understood that prediction came to pass. People are devising all sorts of means to survive. In time past, even in the Buhari days, it's only somebody who does not have a job that will complain about hardship. But now, even when you earn so much, that money can do little. Well, the ball is in your court. Let's look at the road taking and the road not taking. Your initial perspectives. Thank you, Professor Farouk.
Okay, well, thanks so much for welcoming me back for the fourth time in this show, Dr. Arojo. Delighted to be here. My voice is echoing.
We're fine with it. It's good.
Huh?
It's good.
Oh, but I can hear myself.
No, but
okay.
I'm hearing you.
Okay. So, I mean, you know, I'm very passionate about this issue. And I give my reason for this. I come from a background of poverty and deprivation. And I know what it means when the government recedes from its role in the affairs of people. And before the subsidy was removed, exactly a month before Tinubu took over, I wrote an article, a column published in Nigerian Tribune, my regular Saturday column, where I warned of the consequences of removing the subsidies without an alternative. And almost everything that I predicted there is what is happening now. And when I was saying, I think because the movement was extremely and we had really intense that what was happening was an irresponsible abdication of responsibility by the government. And the reason my predictions came to pass is not because I have any oracular powers. I don't have any prophetic powers. I have no capacity to see into the future. All I have is the ability to read about what happened in other countries that have implemented similar policies and what typically happens. And I recall in the previous appearance talking about Argentina. That is another country that is implementing almost exactly the same policies as the Tinubu administration. And what's going on in Argentina right now? Argentina is probably the only country in the world that is worse than Nigeria in terms of the welfare of the people, in terms of the decline in the hollowing out of the middle class and the pauperization of the mass of the people. But, you know, just like in Nigeria, if you look at the metrics, the abstract metrics, there's growth. They always come out to say, hey, there's growth. The economy has grown 3%, 4%. But people are literally eating from the dustbins in Argentina. They cannot transport from one point to the other because the government used to provide subsidies, transport subsidies. This guy came, he called himself an anarcho-libertarian, anarcho-capitalism, and took away all the subsidies. So what is happening right now is the consequence of an unrestrained implementation of neoliberal politics, of neoliberal economics. If you look at the history of SAP, most of us grew up knowing it as SAP, Structural Adjustment Program. As students, as undergraduates, we protested against this. IBB told us that the time was coming when everything was going to be right. That time never came. So a lot of us don't see the similarities between the things we resisted in the 1990s and what are being implemented right now. So you are right to wonder why there is a disjunction between what the government says is happening and the everyday lived reality of people. And the reason is this, that growth without development, that is, without people feeling it, is not development. And when the incomes increase, when there's growth and people don't feel it, a lot of economists will tell us that means that the powerful, the rich, wealthy, the prosperous are benefiting. But it trickles down to the bottom, to the and I remember basically that the rich get their paradise from the hell, from inflicting hell to the poor. So what is happening right now is that there is paradise for the extraordinarily rich people, and that happens in all societies. So we want a situation where this thing trickles down, but I'm sure we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about what should be done differently. I don't know the position of Professor Oyedokun on this. He probably, like most economists, will say if subsidy had to go, there was no reason why it should have existed, and what is happening right now are temporary pains for permanent gains. And these are typical talking points. I don't know where that he stands, but I'm going to stop so that I can give him a chance to also intervene, and we can have a cross.
Don't be too anxious, Prof.
No, because I'm very used to those arguments about that, and then we're going to go into history to see, and then other examples.
And this is my opportunity to actually see why your personality will continue to be your personality is your erudition in writing. I'm not here to talk about you. However, on my Law Teachers Association platform, your article is always there. It's okay. Well, we are entitled to our own informed opinion. That's just. And my own is that I'm not a political person in terms of the fact that I don't have card of any political party, and I'm not appointed, so I'm disappointed by the government. Maybe if I'm appointed tomorrow, I will do whatever they ask me to do. But as of today, I'm responsible for my opinion and informed opinion. Like you said, I'm an accountant. I'm a child accountant, bankers, and degree in economy. So those may not reflect in what I want to say, but my own personal conviction and what we have in the street of Nigeria. And for the matter that Prof said, of course, we are the owner of figures. He is the owner of analysis and speaking to the belief. So the truth of the matter is that let's discuss it. When we say development and growth, the first question is that, is government lying? The answer is no. Government is not lying. Am I one of the mouthpiece of the government? The answer is also no. I am not mouthpiece of the government. Okay? I'm not mouthpiece, but I do think the way it should be done. If you look at the recent figures, without trying to go back, you will see that recovery and external stability in Nigeria, for example, has been reflect what we call balance of payment surplus, and this is the angle they are coming from. And we have about 6.83 billion dollar in US dollar in 2004. Even World Bank is also saying this, and we have seen that we have about economic expansion of about 4.6% in the fourth quarter of 2024. So the service sector is also improving, and it has been dominated by about 57.5% in terms of GDP. If you look at this, it speaks to where they are coming from, especially the Minister of Finance recently saying that they are growing and the likes. But the persistence in terms of reality continues, because despite all this, and according to what Prof said the other time, poverty remains deep and pervasive, and I won't deny that, because about, if I'm not mistaken, about 39% of Nigerians live below the poverty line that we all see every day. And when you relate it to the inflation and cost of living, the pressure remain high. And when inflation stood at over 20%, you will also want to know that food inflation will be high. And again, the issue of employment, the government of the day cannot say is strong. No, it is weak. So we can also say that unemployment figure may appear moderate, but the issue of underemployment and the situation whereby we have informal employment that is dominating you can't trace informal employment, especially the gig economy. So if they continue to tell us that the economy is improving, my mom on the streets of Bagi, Wodija, Yaba, they want to see this reflecting what we have. But when we also link it to infrastructural development and productivity, you will see that this deficit continues to persist. So example of that is a kind of unreliable electricity supply that we have that continues, and it's really undermined the manufacturing and the industry growth, vis-a-vis what we are talking about. So my professor and Dr. Benga, the issue is government 100% at fault on this? The answer may be no. There's something we call ratchet effect, and the theory is saying in Nigeria, anything that goes up don't come down. And the example I want to give is, if the pump price is envisaged to be increased from 1,000 naira to 2,000 naira tomorrow, the information asymmetry there will reflect immediately in Nigeria today. But when we are saying we want to, one way or the other, reduce the pump price, you will see that the reduction of pump price will not reflect, even if the effective date is tomorrow, it will take about 1 month.
Is that not a failure of government? When you recall
are you totally blaming government for that?
No. I want to.
Dollar was 1,005. Dollar was 1,005. You go to buy a tomato on the Agodi Gate Road or Abe Bridge of Abeokuta. The mama that is selling tomato will tell you that dollar has cost. What has dollar has to do? So it is, if you are not a good Nigerian, we cannot have good leaders.
I'm asking
so
you, excuse me, sir. Sorry to interject you. I'm asking with a backgrounding. President Tinubu came into governance from day one when, Buhari, the way they defended the thing is that it was not President Tinubu that removed the fuel subsidy. But that fuel subsidy, the payment, covered till June ending. Am I correct? So a government that is just coming, and you say subsidy is gone while you took out of office, and you did not protect the hapless Nigerians, fuel that was sold at maybe 100 and something naira, 196 naira, and you now allowed Nigerians to be inflicted. I just interjected to say, with the primary duty of government, welfare of Nigerians, and we are talking about is the welfare we are talking about. So I ask again, is this a failure of government? Because it's not just right to say it's Nigerians. Government had a duty to say enforce this thing, because that I just asked the question. My own is to ask questions.
You are right, Doc. You are right, Doc. But let me give you some analysis. It's been done. It's one of the culture of our governance system in Nigeria is that our leaders don't accept that they are wrong.
I like that.
Yeah, that pronouncement that day wasn't necessary. I can say it's a kind of misplaced priority, and it comes with a lot of aggrandizement that we can talk, we can say anything, right. And that's a typical culture of our leaders in the country. In fact, there's nothing you will do; they will continue to defend till the kingdom come. However, it has happened. Okay, the politics of it is now that people now try to also pray and do on it. You arbitrage it to the extent that we continue to use the avenue to also inflict pain on ourselves. So as we are talking in that direction, we also need to talk to ourselves that, is it normal? Is it acceptable for us in Nigeria to hold this thing just because we also want to profit in those kind of shenanigans. So this is that area. So when you talk about development in terms of figure, whether doctor or creative in nature, the growth is there. And don't forget, the redefinition of growth is when there's increase in number of something. But the development that my prof said the other time will also come when at the time you sustain the growth and there's nothing for you to increase in number again, then you now start adding flesh, just like my body was not like this from 15 years ago, and the development come and I started having flesh around me. But this is what is lacking in government. Everything is politics. And that's why all the article of Professor Farouk, they will read it and they will just be grumbling because they don't want to hear the truth. And that's just the way governance is in Nigeria. So let's talk about expectation gap. The expectation gap is that what is the real growth? What is the growth expected by Nigerian? So that is expectation gap. And the gap will continue to be widening in as much as government is praising itself that is doing well without looking down and see whether my mom has eaten today or not. So maybe when we continue this discussion, we can start providing solution.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm just loving this discourse because it's appearing balanced. A little to the right there, another to the left. But I can see that you agree on one thing. The middle class has been wiped off and people are finding it difficult to survive. And then government needs to just make a lot of adjustment. Would you let me go to Ahmed. I must be itching to ask a question.
Normally I would rather just listen and learn from our amiable leaders here. But Professor Farouk, it appeared you wanted to respond whilst we had a comment. Can you hear me now? Is it any better? Is it any better?
We are hearing you.
I have trouble hearing the questioner, whoever is speaking in the background.
Oh, no, I haven't even posed the question yet at you, but can you hear me? Is it any better now?
Are you hearing him?
Yes, I hear now.
Okay. It appeared you wanted to respond at some point when we had our Professor Oyedokun also, sharing his insight. It appeared you wanted to say something.
You had something to say?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, a lot of things, I was going to talk about the wisdom or lack thereof of the precipitous declaration of the cessation of subsidies when in fact the subsidy had been paid for. So within those moments, that was state-sanctioned theft of Nigeria's resources. The subsidies had been paid for by the Buhari government and was supposed to last until June or even July. I forget what month. But when President Tinubu declared that subsidies had gone, the price of petrol went dramatically from below 200 naira to more than 500. And no one has, that's what I call state-sanctioned theft by oil marketers. No one has brought them to account to this day. And the second point I wanted to make was about growth and development and how continuous growth automatically leads to development. Well, that's what economists tell us in theory. But there are several examples we have seen in the world of continuous growth. These abstract numbers, these indices of growth that we see, but they don't typically translate into development at the grassroots. And I'm going to give an example of why it's going to be difficult in Nigeria. I have been to several West African countries, and I've seen the way they live. They live almost at Stone Age level. I come from a part of Nigeria that shares a boundary with Benin Republic, and I've been there. Most people there just have motorcycles, and that's like the highest material attainment you can have, a motorcycle. and that's it. It's nothing else. And Nigeria is being reduced to that state. And a lot of the wrong comparisons, the odious comparisons, always that, oh, look, Nigeria, we are doing way better than, the cost of petrol is a lot less in Nigeria than it is in neighboring countries. And what happened? Can you hear me?
We're hearing you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Something I'm seeing topic. Okay, someone is sharing a file that sort of confused me. Yeah, and so in Nigeria, we have a monoproduct economy, and petrol is so central to the everyday lives of Nigerians that its price determines the price of almost everything. And the point I always insist on is this, that there's no functioning government in the world, functional, transaction-oriented government worth the name, that does not consider subsidizing the everyday consumption of the most important product in the country for its people. Like here in the United States, I do a lot of periodic articles comparing the price of petrol in the United States, in Atlanta where I live, and Nigeria. Sometimes petrol costs more in Nigeria than it does in the United States. And of course, I don't have to tell you about the differences in the minimum wages, and that there's no basis, there's absolutely no reason why petrol should cost more in Nigeria than it does in the United States. Why is petrol fairly cheap? Because they are subsidized by the government in the form of tax breaks for oil companies. Because every government knows that when petrol prices get to a level where people can afford, that government is going to fall. But they have propagandized Nigerians into thinking that subsidies are undeserved luxuries that they should not have. And here's my problem. They are copying the wrong examples. In Europe, where petrol prices are very high, they have a very well developed systematic public transportation system that makes car ownership a luxury. I was in Japan in July, and there the people who ride cars are people who are really wealthy, and so they deserve to pay the high cost for petrol. But the train system, the public transit is so efficient that you have no reason whatsoever to drive your own car unless you just want to show off. Nigeria, that's not the case. Car ownership is a necessity, it's not a luxury. And that's not even the most important issue. It is that the cost of the price of petrol affects the cost of everything else. And Professor Oyedepo made a very important point earlier. It's a point I had encountered and dealt with, which is that when things go up in Nigeria, they hardly come down. So we know that, and so that's not the fault of the government. And he was very right in insisting that that's a terrible culture, a terrible national culture that needs to be tackled. But if you are a government and you know that the policies that cause the cost of petrol to go up will make the cost of everything else to go up and the not come down, you should be extremely careful. And so the carelessness in increasing fuel prices, which also lead to multiplier and domino effect in others, is where I have a problem with. Since the increase in I don't like to call it withdrawal of subsidies, I just call it precipitous increase in petrol prices. That's what it is about. And a lot of people have tried to construct it in such a way that, well, they see this guy still lives in the 1990s who thinks the government should be. I frankly don't care whatever the government does to bring, if it is allowing petrol refineries to come in and the government withdraws subsidies but then allows domestic production of petrol, which causes the price of petrol to be affordable, I don't care. Or if they say, okay, we are going to make petrol prices high up, but we are going to have train system in all the major cities, and we're going to have buses that are done by government so that whoever owns a car can deal with whatever, I don't really care. But what is important is that you should implement policies that make life a little easier for people. That is how all functional societies are run. And what has happened the last few years, the last 2 years since the petrol prices were hiked, is that governors have way more money now than they need. And what do they do with the extra money? According to several news reports that are valid and that haven't been contradicted, is that they exchange these monies into foreign currencies, dollars and pounds, because they have way more money than they have earned before. Yet we have a government that brags that, look, see, one of the benefits of subsidy removal is that governors now have more money. If they have more money, how does that benefit the everyday folks in our villages, in our towns? And for the first time now, in a very long time, we have zero. There's almost no middle class. You are either extremely wealthy or you are poor. And no society survives without a middle class. The middle class is the engine of prosperity, is the engine of growth, of innovation, is the buffer between the rulers and the ruled. When you eliminate that, you are inviting trouble. Let me stop here because I don't want to dominate this conversation.
Thank you so much. I was going to say that if we continue like this, we're not going to leave here till midnight. So perhaps when we try to also chip in our thoughts, we'll be a little more time conscious. Thank you so much for that, Professor Farouk. That was very elaborate. It's 11 minutes to 9. It is still your health-centric radio, Wash 94.9 FM. You're listening to the Boiling Point, and perhaps you just tuned in. You're welcome, very welcome. And this night on the broadcast, we're looking into economic narratives versus lived realities, trying to measure the real impact of government policies on household survival in Nigeria. We have the pleasure of hosting Professor Godwin Emmanuel Oyedokun and Professor Farouk Barogi. You just heard his voice, at this moment. And yes, we have the amiable Dr. Ayaru Ojulu live here with us. So still continuing with the rest of the conversation, I think I'll come to Professor Oyedokun at the moment because, despite the succession of economic interventions that we've seen over the years, which is aimed or was aimed at alleviating hardship, it appears that albeit all of these measures, the daily realities of most Nigerians, the daily realities of Nigerian households remain somewhat, permit me to say, precarious. And as a matter of fact, we've become the poverty capital of the world, and it's no news. And amidst all of these reports of persistent poverty being the poverty capital of the world, we still see or keep getting official claims from the federal government, on relief, which pretty much underscores the whole situation between, with economic policy narratives and the lived experiences of our Nigerians. It's quite a contradiction, and it's raising a question: is this a relief without relief? I don't even know how is this a relief without a relief? And if you look at it, is it as a result of a failure of policy? Would you say it's a failure of communication? Would you say it is perhaps, the failure of reality itself that is not just necessarily responding to these economic reforms that we keep hearing every now and then on paper? So, Professor Oyedokun, I would love to get your response to that. Okay, can Professor Oyedokun hear me?
You are muted.
I'm muted.
He's muted.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I can. Voice is more of echo than that of a doctor. Maybe you are not sitting in the same place. However, I understand the import of your question. But the root causes and the structural issues that we have in Nigeria that will not make any policy work, that will make or whatever the policy they are having to continue to fail, I can highlight them in 2 or 3 points. Number one is growth without jobs. Yes, we are seeing on paper the growth, but much of this growth is driven by sector like finance, telecom, and services, and they are not labor intensive. Okay, and they are more of a brand centered in reality. So the rising of the GDP will not translate to mass employment. if the growth is within that, so we should let government know that the policy, as they are dishing it out, they must ensure that they touch other sector of the economy other than finance, telecom, and services that I just talk about. So there's no way it will have effect if other sector is not developed as the other sector that are going. Again, the issue of informal economic dominance is something that can or that should take a lot of attention of scholars and the government, because a large share of economic activities is into informal, and if they are informal, they are registered, they are regulated, so you cannot control them no matter what. Take for example, even if you say they should not remove subsidy, what do you say about our activities of unregulated economy that petroleum product has been subsidized and shipped to another country? Okay, so this is in the pocket of certain set of people, and they are also Nigerians. And most of the people, apart from the likes of Prof that is coming up, the other set of people are just politicians that are not favored by the corruption of their seniors. You know, the level of your corruption, if it is more than the others, you will also feel agitated. But the issue of governance and institutional weakness is also there. You know, when we have policy implementation gap, what do you expect? Look at regulatory fragmentation and the weak institution that has hampered the translation of this micro gain that we are seeing in the indices that we are talking about, also how it is reflecting in the welfare of the citizenry. So again, we also have this culture of over-reliance on oil and then import dependence. All this will not take a kind of effect on our populace. But who is to be blamed? Of course, government, because government does not have any business in doing business except the business to ensure that all the citizens in the country are okay. So my kind of advice on this would be that they should just ensure that they focus on more structural transformation, because they cannot continue to tell us that the external reserve has risen to so level when I cannot afford to even buy petrol into my car. Okay, so those are the things that I would like to say. Then effort should be made to ensure that we formalize and upgrade the informal sector, because if we don't think about that level, okay, we will continue to make noise to them and it will not have reality. But again, can we do reality check? We keep saying we are in poverty, but when you go to the training of Nigeria, see some people with their wastages and their attitude. But I know you don't want to hear this, because if there's anything I don't understand, I understand the fact that I'm on the street as well, and I go to the street every day and I see the activities of on the informal sector. Well, I know that's not what Dr. Arolo wants to hear from me today.
No, I want to hear it. And now that you brought it up, we see wastages from us Nigerians, yes, Owambe. But can we talk about the wastages in government circles? Can we talk about the...
We have brothers and sisters, my dog. We have brothers and sisters. It is the culture of my family. I will not be a good dog. I will not be a good person when I'm charged with the responsibility of governing my society, my area, my house, if I am not having a right culture right from home. Professor Farouk is talking the way he's talking because of his exposure, his level of understanding. I'm talking to the extent of my exposure, but some doesn't want to hear. If I've been on this program earlier than this time, the noise of the music around Owambe will not allow you. And if you need to see the set of people that we are talking about, these are the set of people that also go online and say Nigeria is not good, wasting money, spraying money, up to now.
Okay, my question, my question has not finished. Wastages. We need to talk about it. When President Tinubu came on, in fact, I saw a video recently, and you know, sometimes we can be haunted by our pasts. There were tweets that the president made when he was APC leader. and constantly he was tweeting. What you are complaining about now was, sometimes you reap what you sow. They said it's a failure of government, it's incompetence, it's so thing, even with the security things. And one thing I like very much, consistency. If I cannot see consistency, if you said something was white yesterday and now it's black, I will. Now, but this is where I'm going, sir, because this is a town hall and we need to debate it. When the president came, he said there's going to be a belt tightening. Even before the election, he said, look, whether you like it or not, I'm going to remove subsidy. If you like, protest. When you now look at the background, you are the one who said we came all out to protest. And said, if you like, protest. Now, nobody is protesting. Nigerians are tired. What we are saying is that you announce belt tightening. But what we are seeing in government circles is belt lightening. Can you, in all honesty, Professor Oyedeokun, justify the high-scale profligacy in government, even as we speak? At what level can a government, personalities in government say, oh, admit, I am wrong. I took a road I'm not supposed to have taken. What do you think?
Okay, so God forbid that I defend these governments and justify their ineptitude and their activities. God forbid. But let me attempt to say something. Honestly, if I ask you a question or I throw it back to me, Godwin, if something fell on this building that I am, what will I do? The right answer is that I don't know. Because you never can tell your behavior. Now, let me speak Yoruba English.
Oh, yeah.
If this thing is in your eyes to be stealing, when you are put in the pool of money, that tendency will not come because you have a lot. Prof, get this. If you are having food around you, but in your lineage, in your family, they must steal. That period, the power of the abundance will
What's happening at your end, Prof? I think there's a little technical.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay,
at what point can our Nigerian leaders, I'm talking about Nigerian leaders of all times, both past and present, at what time do you now just realize that, look, okay, let's even stop this money acquisition. Let's make things work for the people. People are dying and hungry. Is it possible that our leaders can just say, look, enough of acquisitive tendencies? We had some months, 1 or 2 months ago, the Sᴏᴜ leak concerning the minister at the FCT and the houses in US and things like that. Can we, speak directly to our politicians?
I'm not a prophet of doom, but it can't happen in this generation of this set of people because we are already in need. Prof, look, please don't disturb yourself. We can only continue this advocacy and agitation. It can't happen. When the present president was not in government, it was easier for him to lead protests. He's now seeing the reality. It's going to be difficult for him to do anything. Okay, why is it difficult for President Tinubu to name those cabals? Are they faceless? Sir, I don't want to say if you get there you cannot do better.
No, Obasanjo was in power and he dealt with even his Inspector General of Police, who was a Yoruba man like himself. Oh, we are not hearing you very well. Prof.
I'm saying at the expense of what? At the expense of what? He dealt with somebody. What about other atrocity that were shielded?
No.
They are only doing that to cover up the one they don't like. What about the one they are doing?
Let us not fall into the let us not fall into the trap of what I call disabling cynicism. The idea that nothing can be done about something. This fatal. I understand where Prof is coming from. It's legitimate to be frustrated and disillusioned to the point that you think nothing is going to change. But I have studied enough history of several countries to know that change doesn't happen suddenly, that it's gradual. And it is propelled typically by the civil society, by middle class intellectuals like us here. And it's usually so little at a time that we are too impatient to see that something is changing. Honestly, the United States now that is seen as a patron saint of democracy and capitalism, they have had really horrible history, and they seem to be like back to it after like many years of escaping it. I lived in the state of Louisiana for about 2 years, and I was discussing with someone recently from there how their elections used to be rigged, like literally just the way our elections were rigged. Someone would just write up numbers, people would line up, or someone else would write numbers and announce. So he said the elections there turn around, not that it's the turnaround is less than 100 years when they started having really credible elections in Louisiana. I mean, it's maybe like 50 years. He said until like 50 years ago, the elections were written, someone would just write. So I want to give this example to show that there's something about us as humans that makes us intrinsically imperfect. There's no perfection in humanity. There will never be a time where there will be no corruption. There will never be a time in any human society, not even in the Scandinavian countries that are not noted for, where everything is perfect. Perfection is not an attribute of humanity. But what we insist is that the large majority of the people should benefit from the wealth that is in their society. When we have a fair distribution of the resources in the country. By fair, I don't mean everyone gets the same thing, but the point where people at least can wake up with some hope. You can fill your car, you can have food to eat, and there's a reasonable degree of transparency in the system. That is what we are hoping we can get. And then also the capacity for us to tweak the system a little bit to reflect changes we've noticed. If there's failure, if something doesn't work. Right now we don't have that. But we cannot give up, because if you give up, we're going to recede. And you see, if you look at where we came from after many years of military totalitarianism, which unfortunately people are nostalgic about right now, but for some of us who came of age during that time, I was just recently looking at my reports, the reports that I did when I was a journalist, and in the year 2000, we were doing a retrospective analysis of the governance, 1 year of democratic governance. I was struck by what people were saying then, and these were the interviews I conducted that I completely forgot about. But also, I was reading the people who are defending the government said, look, after this many years of military rule where nothing basically happened, you didn't expect someone to come in 1 year and make things happen. And this is what it had done. And it just occurred to me that, look, military rule by its very nature is unaccountable, does not bring about development. People do whatever it is, they did whatever it is they wanted because they weren't accountable to anyone. In this system, at least people try to pretend because they want to justify being voted for or re-voted. So there's something intrinsic about the system we run that at least has an expectation that people should do something. You know, democratic dividends. No one says military dividends. Even the fact that there's that phrase, dividends of democracy, that there's an expectation that something should happen, is itself superior to the previous system where no such expectation exists. So I just wanted us to know that, you know, we have the raw materials to construct a picture that is bright and that is egalitarian, that benefits everyone. We just have to keep pushing and not get tired, because I myself, frankly, Professor Oyedepo, I have gotten tired in some moments when I say, I'm done. But something tells me, if you are done, there are people who have been doing this thing for like 40, 50 years, my entire lifetime, and they are still doing it. What excuse do you have to give up? And how about societies in the past? The US itself, look at this. I read history of the United States and saw how people struggle, how the society seemed so hopeless, but somehow people pushed and got it to where it is now. So I say, well, maybe I have the privilege to be able to speak and get some people to listen to me. There's no reason to stop. Just keep doing it. And so I'm going to extend the same to you, Prof, that please, let's not give up. Next generation.
As much as you have preached, and I understand, I still want to tell you that the crop of professional politicians that we have now, they are already on the queue. Until they are exhausted, you cannot have meaningful changes among them, because a Miloko nest is also coming. So on that note, everybody is coming to take their fair share of the cake. And the solution to this is what you don't want to have. That solution is not supposed to happen. Because even in the peace that it will follow, there will be lack of peace in it. So it's better we just continue our advocacy like this. And also, as we are moving the tone up, we should be sorting it and be talking to ourselves. Because you and I are also the product that will end up in that governance. And what is our mindset now? When somebody is already saying, in order for me to live well, I must live in government. Okay, so no matter, a police is recruiting another recruit that will continue in the lineage of their acts and behavior. Nothing. If you like, change the clothes. Put soda to clean it up. The efficacy of their defined way of behaving is already entrenched. And it takes a lot. It looks like you put Coca-Cola in a bottle and you start putting white. You will have to be consistent before the entire liquid that is black will change to white. It means every iota of black must be eliminated, if you want me to use that language, before you can get white. Is it something we can do? The answer is it will take us another set of years before we can achieve it. But on a more serious note, I think like Yoruba will say that that is, if they say you are a thief, hey, wouldn't you rather start changing your behavior so that you don't get that kind of labeling going forward in your life? I think those are the things we should be looking at, and this is where our advocacy should be tending towards. We are all fantastically corrupt in one way or the other. And then Yoruba will say anything for 괘ᴜᴛᴛᴇʀ Ram. That's what we had.
You translate that word to Prof.
I want to do it because of a professor. See, within your scope, if certain things are not coming to you, like others, you say it's a ram. You know the meaning of a ram now, okay? If that thing gets to you, will you behave the same way we are behaving currently? It's going to be difficult. And until we imbibe that spirit that integrity means doing right thing, even if no one is looking at you. But today, 95% of Nigerians will first of all obey the law of holes and cutlasses. When you want to weed, you weed it to your side. And that has been there. We need the ideological change, and it's going to take a long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad, Prof, that we are back on the same page. And I think you are comfortable with that. Thank you. I think we need to reel out the messages. And by the time it's like 9:20, we're going to open the floor and the phone lines for interactions. You may call the number and also the messages.
Certainly, I'll do that, of course, once it's about that moment. I hope you can hear me now, but let's quickly check out some of the messages we would find. Yes, by the way, Lagos, we're also on the Zoom platform, and there are messages I want to take out from that chat box. And according to Judith Oboegbulem says, good evening all. Judith joining from Okan, Nigeria. Thank you. It's good to know that you're joining all the way from Okan. Now, Olusanjo Oluyide says, can we talk about how we can engage all tiers of government about what they can do? Removal of subsidy is a necessity. What do we as the governed and the government do? Okay, that's the question that Olusanjo Oluyide is asking. Perhaps we will take that as well. Let's take a look at, okay, Olusanjo as well is it has a number of messages here. Also says, we do not have the resources to fund petrol or foreign exchange subsidy. It is only, where is it now? It is only food production that should be subsidized. Government does not have more money than they need. They just need to apply the new earned revenue to improve education, health, and infrastructure. I suppose that is a thought from Olusanjo. Thank you so much for that.
Maybe let me just take this one quickly.
Okay.
Dr. Ayedun Isaiah from Abeokuta. Anything that goes up in Nigeria doesn't come down. Why? Does it mean we don't have leadership that is active and considerate, or that don't mind the feelings, agony, and pains of Nigerians? Your own takes, and I think Professor Kwerogi has handled that. He further said, Nigerians are ready to endure and sacrifice to make Nigeria a better nation. But it is so painful that indirectly Nigerians have been paying for the purported subsidy that was removed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. What's your own take? Finally, he said Nigerian leaders are not ready to endure. Instead, they are the ones enjoying the dividends of democracy. Well, the major imbroglio affecting our nation is nothing but corruption. It has affected all the sectors. Money sharing and other materials being carried out by federal government. Or do you think that is the best way to ameliorate the suffering, pains, and hardship Nigerians undergo? Is that the...
I do not have that on my pad though, but I think it's Olusanjo's. But perhaps we'd have to refresh to get more of the messages from the participants on the Zoom platform.
Okay, let me quickly go to Professor.
Maybe we should take a few at a time.
Okay, but let me, before you take on this, let me, part of the supposed gain of the fuel subsidy removal, you know, when they say, when we remove subsidy, we will now have more money. We will not borrow money again. But wait a minute, let's talk about our debt question. It is said from the streets, I don't know, the last government of Buhari, they borrowed quite a lot of money, but that's all through 8 years. In the first 2 years of Tinubu's government, how much has been borrowed? Is this indicating that most of the time we don't think through these policies? Because if you said money was to be freed so that we will not borrow, and we are borrowing as we speak, this week we are still borrowing. Just let me push it to you, Prof. Professor Farouk.
Am I the one to talk about this?
You decide. Okay.
Okay.
Let me decide.
Okay, Professor Farouk.
Well, I mean, so do you want us to respond to the questions you asked earlier, or you want us to get?
I'm just putting all of them together as much as you can. But the debt question interests me. The debt that.
Yeah, me too. It's something. Maybe Professor Yedukun will give us the more professional response. So
okay.
You will not like it, but let me tell you, you will not like it.
I like you, so I like everything you say.
I just pray my internet is okay. Now, human need is insatiable. When the subsidies gain is warehoused, okay? So if you are asking Tinubu, you are asking the wrong person. You may say in our mind that, oh, it is the head, but your governor has not complained that he has not collected the money. Keep using paint to paint your road for you, and you are praising them that they have done well.
Like federal, like states.
I'm not saying more than that for now. So the money the bulk of money was shared to 37 units. But you are talking to the person that shared it, where is the money? We have to know where the money has gone. That's number one. Number two, subsidy money is what our brothers and sisters want to use to contest election next time.
But it's our money.
So they will not spend more of it. They will not spend more of it on us. I don't have facts, so I can't be answerable to you, but I'm telling you what my instinct is telling me. That's number next. Now, for every government unit, Professor Farouk, there are 1 million attachment on them that will not make dividend of democracy to be evenly distributed. Number one is that wife has given birth, your child want to get married, want to do this. So the money people are collecting from this politician is actually money that's supposed to be spent on everybody. But some set of people that know them are collecting. And Professor Farouk, even in your family, some people know you around. Because of your status, you keep getting requests for alerts every day. Whatever resources that is coming will be channeled to that, unless you want to become a bad boy that doesn't send anybody. So those are the issue with politicians. People will not come to my house because they know I don't have any mouth in this country. That's why they will not come. But those that know that I have money to buy cab, they will still come and tell me they've not eaten anything, even when they are eating. So those are the issue with subsidy. So let's take this governor to be responsible. Why not saying that, okay, 20 million naira came to the social state this month. Now we have how you spend that money in terms of transparency. Don't forget that allocation from the federal used to be already cool issue that you don't know what is transparent, but because of Madam Bill process and the like that time, they now publish it monthly. But what are we using this data for? Nobody. We are not even reading those data. We are not using it for anything, but we still continue to say government. Now let's talk about debt. You create more wealth, you create more money through debt. That is philosophical in terms of finance. Now, we have social number of amount of income in this country, let's say 10,000 naira. When you look at the number of roads they should build, number of hospitals they should get, merit good and public good, the amount of income will not be sufficient. But you are putting pressure on government to develop immediately, then that money will not be enough. So they need to go out. So if they don't borrow, then certain developmental projects will not be executed during this project. And they want to tell you that they are doing well. So the only result they have is to go borrow. I'm not saying there is sense in borrowing, but I'm telling you the philosophy and the thinking in it. In a family where you sell recharge card 100,000 naira, your profit is limited to the capacity of the turnover that 100,000 can bring. But if you go and borrow extra 200,000, you will now double your profit. So this time around, the problem with Nigeria is that you want to borrow, but you are borrowing to execute a developmental project that, if it were to be South Africa, it will cost 10,000 naira. The same topography of road, the same weather condition. But if a contract is coming to Nigeria, you spend 20,000. So we are now borrowing money for individual pockets. Therefore, you cannot see any good thing that will come out of that borrowing. So it's not the borrowing that is the problem, but the project they want to use that money to execute has already been padded by 10% that will go to the person that introduced them to the government. Whoever within the government is collecting 50% of that contract, then the remaining 40% is given to the contractor. Contractor will now sublet it and still take 10%. And that's why that money can never have multiplier effects.
And this, let me come in here. It speaks to the death of what I call critical democratic citizenship. It's a concept that actually started killing that. And that started because the APC people used to be the professional protesters, used to be the people who controlled media narratives, used to be the people who propelled and inspired rebellions, civil rebellions. Now all of them are in government. And because over time, psychologically, we have shifted the responsibility for protest to certain people. And those people are now in government, there's no one to protest. And so even the littlest challenge to authoritarianism, to lack of transparency and accountability is gone. It's been gone in Nigeria. The media has become very quiescent, has become almost complicit in what's going on. And that's why we have state governors. And so this is not just at the federal level, also at the state level. And in Nigeria, we have a very unique system where the states are not actually states in the real sense of a federal structure. They are basically just extensions of the center. They are not independent federating units in the sense in which states are in the United States. They're just extensions of the center. And someone actually suggested, there's a friend of mine who suggested that we should cancel governorship elections and just appoint people. Because frankly, there's no reason why we should waste resources.
Governorship election or local government election, both of them now.
Both, because they're just extensions of the center. Nigeria is a unitary state. Let's not pretend that it's a federal state. It's not. And the people in the states, and this is where, going back to the points that Professor Yedokun made, is that's why now, given the option, and I posed that question, I think maybe when I appeared here or in one of my columns, between what obtained in the past, where there was so-called corrupt cabal who controlled the oil business, but were still paying less than $200 per gallon or liter. So I have to consciously think, because in the US we use gallons and we don't use liters, and we call it gas instead of petrol. So if we were given that option between what obtained before Tinubu's subsidy was gone and what has replaced it, because right now the governors are being subsidized, people in power are being subsidized. In the past, there were two kinds of people who are benefiting from subsidies: the everyday folks and the oil cabal. Those two, but at least it trickled down. But right now, the people at the bottom, who are actually the majority, get nothing. Now we have that same money that cost you to pay less than 200 naira per liter. That same, now it's governors, and they are not doing anything about it. And we are being challenged all the time, especially by people who are sympathetic to the federal. Hey, hold the governor accountable. They know that's not even possible. A lot of people who criticize governors end up in jail, and nothing happens to them. And we know there are several examples I can give. There is a young man in his 20s with very few social media power, who merely called one governor Amunike, and we all know what Governor Amunike means. It's a skit. He's a comedian from the southeast who satirizes governance, how governors will edit stuff. I don't know whether anyone knows Governor Amunike, but I follow him on social media, and he's like incredibly hilarious. So this guy just called his Governor Amunike, with all the implications. He's still in jail. He's been going through all kinds of. There's a little girl in her early 20s in Sokoto that I wrote about in the column, who merely said a mildly critical thing about his governor over insecurity. She was arrested, she was jailed, she was tortured. She's now going through court, in and out, trying to defend. And after she withdrew what she said about the governor, apologized, asked adults to go and beg on her behalf, she's still going through all kinds of. And these stories are not even in the mainstream, and every single day I am deluged with people asking me to intervene. This governor is doing this to me. So when you ask people to go and hold their governor to account, you don't also remind them that governors are emperors, they're dictators, they're tyrants in their spheres of influence. And people who don't want trouble, just let them be. So I'm asking the question again: what would you rather have? because a lot of people have been propagandized, and that comes out from that question that subsidies have to go. Subsidies, we can't afford subsidies. But that same money is being used to subsidize the corruption and profligacy and thoughtlessness of people in power. So now you have the option. And I actually said this before it started. And it's interesting that we are having this conversation because I wrote the column, and I'm going to read exactly what I wrote in a column in June, on June 28, 2023. And I asked this: what shall it profit a country when it pursues policies that cause the economy to grow, but cause the people to growl? And I was playing on grow and growl. After the economy has grown and the people still grown, where is the growth? The most important growth is...
I have that paper.
What did you say?
I said I have that paper.
Oh, you have it, right? Okay. The most important growth isn't the rise in the abstract, disembodied World Bank, IMF created metrics, but in the improvement of the quality of life of everyday folks. And this was 2 years ago, because I knew that would happen. You know, before what they are reading now about the growth numbers, here we have the GDP. I knew that was going to happen because that had happened in the past. During IBB, it has happened in all the South American countries that I studied who implemented a SAP. It has happened in Argentina that is also currently doing this. But there's always a disjunction, a wild disjunction between these numbers and the everyday realities of people. That's why I put it there, because I knew it was going to happen, and it's happening exactly now. Because they're reading these really great numbers about growth and all of that. And so, again, I'm asking the question for people who are saying, oh no, we can't afford to have subsidies because they are unaffordable, they're all of that. But the alternative to that subsidy is what we are seeing right now. I want people, but they I have to give them credit. They have been extremely effective in propaganda, to the point that even people have become self-sabotaging. You find people. I have had arguments with people who tell me subsidies have to go, but now they can't eat, they can't walk, they can't go anywhere, but they are still defending their own self-incineration, and that's where I give them credit for.
Okay. Give me credit too now. It's just a joke. Well, we are gradually getting to the point of interactions.
That's right.
I think you have to reel out the phone number, the studio line to call after this question. Then those who are on Zoom can indicate by, raising hands. But I'm coming over to my friend, Professor Yedekun. Somebody sang this song. Are you hearing? Please unmute Professor Yedekun. Shena like this we they go.
Yeah, I've done the remix. That's the remix.
Now, the issue of subsidy, removal or retention, is because of one thing. Our refinery capacity is not there. If probably we are producing and refining our crude here, we will not be talking about removing whatever, because there will be market realities. People who campaign to enter into office will tell you they will build refineries in 4 years. They will do this and that. It looks like this government is not going to look into that area at all. Or maybe we're expecting that after 2027, maybe that's what we will be doing. Then you struck a chord when you spoke about the governors. And thank God, Professor Farouk said they are like emperors. So emperors are like Nebuchadnezzar. You don't challenge them. If you have to challenge them, they have state houses of assembly. What is happening? Now, this is where I'm going. Are you alarmed or are you not alarmed that the cost of transporting governors is now like in the region of 300 million naira in 1 month? Are you not? Is it not outrageous that governors will leave their place, go to Abuja and be waving to, aircraft. They will be in Abuja in the afternoon, in Gombe. They will be in, they now fly. They don't use convoys on the road again. Is this how we will be going? Shana like this, we go, they go.
Doctor, this is like joke, but let me just throw it. If you go to US, do protocol, nothing like I stand on existing protocol. But in Nigeria we do. So don't tell us not to do protocol, it's our culture. So in US, they don't wave at their president, it's their, and whatever it takes to wave, please allow us be in peace.
The joke is on you.
Okay, so what I'm just trying to say is that is our culture. If you import Donald Trump or Obama to Nigeria to come and rule, you can do what you can. So I think we should look at the systemic issue and beg these people, whatever it will take, let them change the constitution that gives this unnecessary power and the lies. Okay? When former Minister of Power Almighty Ministry was governor of Lagos State, you will notice that you can't come to Lagos State and be doing wow because of his nature, and he has told everybody nothing of that nature. Immediately he left, what happened in Lagos? So it's about the structure, systemic. So this is appalling that some people will want to go and usher in president from Abuja to Lagos for Salah, and everybody will follow him, and everybody will still start going to the same extension of the Aso Rock in Bodilon. So what do you expect? And these are where we are missing the money. What about cost of movement, even within the state, when they want to go and do something? And because some of them don't even know how much this petrol costs, and the cost continue to pile up. And that is why it will continue to be a kind of incentive to their followers to want to take over from them, because that kind of lifestyle, they want it. So the governance in Nigeria is too attractive. Therefore, you must see people kill themselves to get there. So if you don't correct that, make governance less attractive to people, we will continue to have this kind of conversation. I think when situation is beclouded, that's when we also need to talk. Because if situation is okay, we may not even have this discussion. So which one is better? Can we just discuss so that we don't discuss it again? Or should we not discuss so that we can also discuss again? It is ridiculous, and there's nothing we can do than to continue to advocate like this.
Okay.
All right, I think on this note, let's put up on the phone line so we can also get further engagement from the listener this evening on the boiling points. Remember, the number to call is 0704 1007949. Number to put a call through is 0704 1007949. Text and WhatsApp remains 0915 849-4949. Dr. Aya, you want to say something?
No, I want to also emphasize again that from the Zoom, just please indicate if you have questions. But I know that those who want to...
exactly. Let's take our very first caller this night. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello. Welcome to Boiling Point Arena.
Yes, my name is Olajide, and I'm calling from Egbeda.
Olajide from Egbeda.
You have the floor.
Yes. It's been very insightful what your guest has been able to dish out this night, and but I think we should also need to put some things into consideration. It's just very unfortunate that the subsidy issue is not sustainable for Nigerians, except fine, you don't have to like the person in the presidency. What we are all after is Nigerian. There is wastage in Nigeria. It is glaring that there is wastage. But I think our professors need to understand that you do not need to like the person in government. What we all want is a working country. So you cannot tell me that everybody will not own a car. I have a car, and I do not expect government to subsidize for me to run my car. You made reference of a jack, and it is really appalling for a professor to tell me that a jack that I still bought 2 days ago for 6,000 naira, and fine, it is not a pump jack. A pump jack cannot be more than 10 or 12,000, and you can use one jack for 2 years, 3 years. It can't be a reference for us to say life is so. Let us not make it look like that. If you are a working person, you will survive the current situation of Nigeria.
Take that as a prophecy. Amen. Thank you.
Yes, it is true. We don't have to be sentimental. I
couldn't hear what you said. I
do not need to like the person.
I think I have a question for him.
This reform. Unfortunately, it may be all. We need this reform. I don't have to like the person in the center. I am an AAC member, for crying sake, and I can say that I am very pleased with the way things are. In the long run, we are all going to enjoy this country.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because of time consideration, you sure made your point. You said you are enjoying the country the way it is.
Exactly what he's saying. And he said something. He is mentioning that if as long as you're working class, you should be able to stay afloat. In a manner of speaking, well, that I think those are his thoughts that I could get. I was going to try to even get some follow up with regards to that, but because of our time, let's just move forward. Let's just move on with that. Let's take another caller quickly. Okay. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Your thoughts quickly, and where your name and where you're calling from, by the way.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Oluyide from Aja.
All right, Mr. Oluyide from Aja. Good to have you calling. Let's quickly get your thoughts.
For the good job you are doing, we are praying for you. And when we talk of the U.S., like what Professor Farouk has talked, U.S., Europe, that was a time they have a difficult time, and they were able to overcome it. In fact, like the time of the Puritans, in fact, in their assemblies, in the churches, in the mosque, you can still do the same thing. If we believe that God can revive this country, but the messages have to be changed. Even the youth that are coming up now, you can see Yahoo everywhere. And all these things bother to more challenges and problems for this country, Nigeria. But if you can go to spiritual revival, talking to ourselves with prayer, I know God can change this country and God can change our leaders. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Oluyide. I think we have someone who is indicating interest on the platform in person of Dr. Gbenga Ajugu.
Ajugu, can you help us unmute Dr. Gbenga Ajugu while we wait for more calls?
Okay. Good evening, Professor Godwin Oyedokun.
Good evening.
Thank you for your contributions tonight. Yes, I really had a swell time with your contributions. And I would like to say good afternoon to Professor Farouk. Because I believe we are still in the US, and your contribution to has been nothing short of wonderful. Of course, I've been reading, I've been an avid reader of your columns, of most of what you write. You have a voice, and as a public intellectual, you have contributed a lot to what is going on in the country. Thank you very much.
I'm so much delighted talking to you in person. I just want to hear your opinion. Considering the cacophonies of data that we get from our government, even though we don't really believe them, they tell us, they give us statistics, inflation, about the inflation, this, that. We really don't believe them. But my concern, or let me share my question to you. What is your take about the inputs of all these alphabet agencies, IMF, World Bank, and the data they are also churning out? What is your personal opinion about them? They are confusing. These things don't really reflect what's on ground in the country. And like, it's either you or Professor Lɪධᴇ that said it, that the middle class has been completely obliterated in the country. We just have, it's either you are extremely wealthy or you are very poor. Eating alone is difficult, and we are being told that things are getting better. The inflation is reducing. This is, what's your take? Most especially using the indices given to us by the IMF, World Bank, all of them, like I said, all these alphabet agencies, what they are giving us. What's your personal take on them? We respect your take on every issue as you contribute from the US. Thank you very much. That's my question.
Okay, Doctor. Is it Dr. Benga? Thanks so much for the kind words and for your question. I read out a portion of my column that I wrote 2 years ago, and growth and groaning. It was a reference to that. You recall that if the World Bank or the IMF, one of them, came and said, we have to endure what's going on in Nigeria for the next 15 years before we will see a semblance of relief or growth. Of course, I don't trust the figures, and not just because they are inconsistent with the realities in Nigeria, but because historically, and I keep going back to the reason for my distrust of the IMF and the World Bank, is that they have done the same thing to all third world countries. And a political economist made a point. He said, if you look at the history of the global political economy, the only countries that have succeeded outside of the West, that have become prosperous, that have had material prosperity, are precisely the countries that buck or that refuse to kowtow to the World Bank. Look at China. China does not take dictation from the World Bank. The so-called Asian tigers, they never took dictation from the World Bank. In my previous appearance here, I talked about how Malaysia was able to emerge from the Asian crisis. All the other countries that were prosperous and had economic difficulties went to the World Bank, the IMF, and say, what do we do? And they say, oh, remove subsidies. The same template, weaken your currency. And all of them say, okay, we're going to do that. Malaysia was the only country that said no, because that made no sense. And just recently, the president of Malaysia at the time was asked, why did you resist the World Bank and the IMF? Why did you resist? Then he said, maybe because I'm not an economist. I don't know anything about economics. I just know common sense. It made no sense to me that I should remove subsidies, make my people suffer, weaken the currency, and cause hyperinflation, and people cannot feed. So I did the exact opposite of what they recommended. And Malaysia was the only country that survived the Asian financial crisis. So the IMF and World Bank have no interest whatsoever in the well-being of developing countries. You know, and we know why they were set up. If you go to the history of the IMF and the World Bank, and historically they have never, there's not a single example, and I keep challenging economists to give me a single example of a country that developed by removing subsidies, by devaluing their currencies and all these stereotyped, idiotic policies that the IMF and World Bank imposes on people. Not a single country. Japan did not develop that way. South Korea did not develop that way. Singapore did not develop that way. And the mark, people always say, the mark of the progress of any country, of any nation, of any community of people is how well they take care of the weakest members of their society, the poorest, the most vulnerable. That's how you measure this. That's how you measure civilization. In fact, Margaret Mead, one of the biggest professors of sociology, mentioned, they asked her the question, what was the point in our civilizational history as humankind? What was the point that you would say civilization actually started? And she surprised people when she said it was a moment when we discovered the femur, that's the thighs, in the forest when we were doing this. And they said, what does that mean? He said that was a moment when in the past we were like wild beasts. If you got injured, people just passed by and they left you behind. No one cared. They said, okay, you are attacked by a wild animal, let's just run so that we the femur indicated that they came back and tried to help someone who was hit by a wild animal. They tried to mend that person. So for her, empathy, the point at which we take care of the weakest members of society, is a point where civilization actually started. Now, neoliberal economics is making us think that, look, we don't need that. The IMF and World Bank, they are advising our people in power to say, hey, we don't need to take care of the weakest members of the society. In fact, a measure of your effectiveness as a government is to take away subsidies from them. And
recording stopped.
It's a Latin word for assistance. I keep saying that. So whether you allow refineries to be built in large numbers so that the cost of petrol will come down and the prices of things can also be affordable, or you can't do that, but you pay money for what we used to have, instead of giving that money to governors, taking care of the weakest member of society is the most important thing. And so I don't believe these World Bank statistics, because they have to justify giving the advice that they give our people. So
thank you very much. Whichever.
Recording in progress.
Okay, let's quickly take a final caller, because we have about 10 minutes or so before we begin to call it a day on the boiling point this evening, depending on time per se. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello, good evening, Nicholas. I'm calling from Nigeria, Abeokuta to be precise.
All right, Nicholas.
Nicholas, you're on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Perogi, I'm happy it's in US, or Professor Edokun. When you look at Shankara's economic policies and Castro's economic policies, and you juxtapose it with the IMF and the World Bank policies that appear neo-imperial, is it truly possible that economic policies that are humanitarian can succeed under sub-Saharan democracies which are influenced by external forces? I don't know if my question was clear. I don't know if I was clear enough. Dr. Ayo, can you pass my message to the two of them?
I think they are hearing you, Nicholas.
I would like an answer to my question if they got it clearly.
Okay, it's not hearing you. Can you try to rephrase a little bit?
Okay. I was asking, when you look at...
Can you hear? I can't hear any. No, not at all. I'm relying on you. When you hear, you tell us, then I'll be able to respond.
Okay.
Okay, please. Just get my question with your pen, Dr. Arodolu.
You have a few seconds to do that, okay?
Yeah, when you look at the fact that many of the African democracies are controlled by IMF and World Bank neo-imperialistic policies, can sub-Saharan democracies truly entrench welfaristic policies that will benefit black democracies.
Okay. Okay.
It's not easier under Sankara or a Castro or a Rawlings, given the way that how they push their. It applies as an undue influence of neo-imperialism on the IMF and World Bank in sub-Saharan democracies, which are truly sponsored by external forces.
All right, Nicholas, thank you so much for that. Okay, so perhaps rephrasing and sharing his question with our guest, he's trying to say something about the influence of the IMF, the World Bank, as to their policies on African countries, and looking as to how African country, as you know, as a continent, can perhaps do without necessarily having to heed these policies of external factors.
Can they really do influence or bring about, African welfareistic policies? Yeah. Very quickly, Prof.
I'll say that again.
Oh, what he's saying is the IMF and World Bank, that due to their new colonialistic policies, their influence on African nations, can their policies bat welfareistic policies for Africans?
So in the good guys, they will tell you that is what they are. Because if you look at developmental finance structure, they are meant to help with certain public sector driven infrastructure. But let me tell you, he who pay piper must dictate it too. When you go to them with your sovereignty, they will tell you even when to touch your spouse. They will even tell you when you should not send your children to school. So, and that is why, like I used to say, whenever ASU and federal government are fighting, if you are fighting for autonomy, then you should not go and collect money from whoever you are fighting to get autonomy from. If I left home at the age of 18, and I'm saying it on public TV that my dad will not call me today that I should not go out tomorrow because I will not collect feeding money from him tomorrow, it means I am standing on my own. So, but if I make mistake of asking him to give me money, pocket money, he will tell me what to do. So if you don't take your calabash to IMF, you will not also be subjected to their conditionality. Those conditionality very stringent, and there is a reason for that. It's just like all these those people that are normally money lender those days, they will tell you not to do certain thing. So, and that's why they must protect their interest first. If they don't protect their interest, there is a way you will behave, and it will not make both principal and interest to come back to them. That's why they will tell you, during this period, you must not do this. If you cannot take all these conditions, don't come and collect money. So the welfareism is not because they are in business.
All right.
Okay.
When they are in business, they are not doing it because of God.
Okay, we have a call. Thank you.
Oh, we lost connection with that caller. Perhaps he can
quickly
make it.
Call back. And we are really coasting home now. We have less than 4 minutes, if I can see very well.
Let's take this caller quickly now.
Okay.
Good evening to you.
Good evening. Good evening.
All right, quickly. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Sɣ쏘ʟᴇ is my name.
All right, Sɣ쏘ʟᴇ.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks to the professor that spoke from America and the professor in Nigeria. If the Nigerian people cannot take their, what we call it, the government in accountable, I don't think anything can go on very well. You see, I advocate for voters' apathy. In any election, let everybody stay at home. Nobody should come out to vote. Then they will know, really, yes, well, no, they are taking us for granted. Are you with me, sir?
Go on, please.
Okay. Secondly, the corruption in Nigeria is too endemic. We have to enact a law that criminalizes corruption, that penalty. Then all the governors or what we call the House of Senate members, everything will sit tight and know that, okay, any person that steals money will be hanged or will be killed. Thank you.
That's it. Okay, that's all right. Let me ask, well, you keep the calls coming. Let me ask, bring back Professor Kweroji.
Perhaps before you get to
you
Professor, let's take another caller quickly. Hello, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Yes, quickly, what's your name?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Dr. Kayode Olumide from Abeokuta.
Okay, Dr.
You have the floor.
Good evening, sir. I've been trying to call in several times. My call was just being jammed by other calls.
You are lucky.
Yeah, thank you. For a long time, I've been trying to look at this topic we brought to the broad front burner, and I see that our nation, still being called a third world nation or country, is still experiencing some tremendous hardship and turmoil under this leadership we have now. I'm saying this because I am feeling the impact when, after all, our president told us that he has removed fuel subsidy, but it's only the government or the leadership alone are still enjoying. Even the National Assembly are smiling back home with billions of naira or so, even the executive as well. But then, what manifests most in the lives of others like me is the issue of this peril. I don't know how to put it now. Is it because of economic colonialism that these people are talking about, or political colonialism? I just want to know, because I'm disturbed. I don't even, you see, I'm giving myself as an example. I don't even have enough to keep any longer than to use it to buy, because I'm not saying that things are worse for others, but for me, I think things are getting worse each day and every now and then. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure they will respond to. But let me ask, and this is where I want to be very sincere. I know you talk sincerely, but from your heart of hearts, and I'm going to also send the same to Napis. Where do we go now? When the subsidy was being removed, it looked like, oh, don't worry, F4 Kombale is going to be for a while. But it looks like it's going from bad to worse. Fine, government says we have turned around the corner. Maybe they are saying so because there is now more quantum of money at their disposal. But they are governing over human beings. A caller who was calling the other time was like dispelling what I was saying. I go to work. I used to fill my tank with 10,000 naira. I use it for blow it like 1 or 2 weeks. But today, I take 15,000 naira to buy, just 3 gallons. It's 3 gallons. When you say 15,000, say, how would you finish 15? I say 15,000 naira worth of fuel. It's just 3 gallons. Prof said in America, the transport system is not as developed, public transport as developed like in Europe, And we all know, if you don't have a car, if you know where I work, it will take me sometimes between 50 minutes and 1 hour because of traffic. I burn 15 naira to and fro every day. In 1 week, that's 75,000 naira. If you calculate in 1 month, it's going to like 300,000 naira, which I don't earn, by the way. Others have worse stories. Where do we go? We wait for 2027.
Don't be a car.
I should leave the car and jump on Okada. Prof.
Honestly, the government has made it more worse than, I don't want to say than they met it. But the truth of the matter is that we deserve this punishment, honestly, because
we or they.
We look at it. All of us, we deserve this punishment we are getting.
Okay, we here in the Zoom.
All of us, Nigerians, we deserve this.
Plus the
Have you checked the election results in Anambra today? Do you know that upon the whole money they burn on campaign, only 500 plus voted?
That is
the proportion of people that didn't vote is enough to select lead leader. So we come here to come and talk. Are we going to vote next time?
I'm talking about
500, just 500 in the whole state determine who become governor.
And that tells you that tells you voter apathy. That tells you citizens' disinterest in what they are doing.
No.
Okay?
No. If you are really, Shebi, Prof said when he was in school, they led so many protests now. It was interest. Okay? We are all interested in talking online, but we are not taking action.
But wait to Prof, I live in Ogun State. The kind of election, the kind of violence that takes place in polling booths, it happened in Shagamu. It happened just ordinary by-election recently.
Okay, so
when you are there because of interest and they will come, people sponsored by those in authority to snatch ballot box, gun toting.
Cancel certain things and then let's be appointing. If we spend money to campaign and we will not go and vote, why the need for election?
If we now go and vote and you come back, you sustain injury or death, what now happens?
What do you do to this government that you did not vote for, but legitimately, whether you like it or yes, they are there. So you think, let's talk about it, our flesh, in your house, you wanted to do something, and the house is divided into two and say, some say don't do it, the other one say do it. You now did it. If you come with gain, are you going to remember the one that said you should not do it first, or the one that said you should do it?
Okay.
So that is the issue. If they now know that I will vote, you will vote, all of us will vote, they will rethink.
Okay.
They have a kind of rethink. It's just two-way. It can't cause social relationship.
Okay.
Issue.
We appear to have lost you there.
Doing whatever now. You now say, but it's okay, it's fine. But I'm just saying that we need to also reorientate ourselves. And Yoruba will say, that is, if you cannot defend your family house, then you are not supposed to be cheap in the house.
Okay, let's hear Professor Farouk's drift on the matter. Just because of our time, I think he has something to say on it. Maybe he wants to agree with Professor Oyedepo.
He should not. He should not.
Okay.
Please unmute him.
And make it quick. Technical, unmute Professor Farouk. Okay, I think you need to do a concurrence there. Are they done?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you've just unmuted me.
Okay.
All right. So, what was the question again?
Well, where do we go from here? The poverty is going deep and affecting even top echelon of the society, that if you earn 500,000 naira, that's like 500,000 naira. Take it to Oyingbo market. I don't think you will bring back 20,000 naira change, and that will last you for 1 month. The government is saying effort Kombale. I hope you know what that one means now. Effort Kombale.
Well, this is an enduring truth about us as humans. I don't mean just Nigerians. Power does not give in willingly without a fight. When people have power, when they have access to the levers of power, resources, they will never share it willingly with people without a fight. I think it was Frederick Douglass who said that, a very long time ago. But there's something about us, our psyche in Nigeria, that makes us think that the people who rule us have have our best interests at heart, and all you need to do is just support them. Don't cry, because if you cry, you are the enemy, or you are jealous, or you just are a wailer. You just can't help but, and these are things thrown at me all the time. But even in societies that are developed, like the United States, UK, Japan, things happen because people demand it. If you don't demand it, and this is where that's the concept we call critical democratic citizenship.
Sᴏᴜᴛᴛᴇ is there on the streets, and he's fighting alone. And fighting alone.
He's fighting alone, and people mock him, people tease him, people throw all kinds of insults at him. If we have multiple people like that, the government. Let me just give you a practical example of what is happening. The insecurity that has pervaded this country for a very long time. A lot of people, me here, I'm sure Professor Lɪධᴇ and yourself have complained and talked and cajoled and whatever it was we could do didn't happen until right now. The United States government is threatening violence to invade us militarily, and suddenly for the very first time in a long while, you see security personnel, heads of government, the president having meetings and strategizing on what to do. So that's just an indication people don't change. And Professor Lɪධᴇ made the point earlier that about what you see sometimes depend on where you stand, and that those of us who have these opinions that are critical might be having those opinions because we are not in power yet. When we are in power, your perception changes, and that's what I keep saying that all the time. Referring time, Buhari's time, and even previously, when people say, "Well, if you are in government, you're not going to be different," and I say, absolutely. And that's why I want you to, if I were to be in government, I don't think I will be, I want a situation where people outside will call me out or put my feet to the fire, because that is what makes people perform. But we have a very docile, decent citizenry. That somehow the people in power will do the right thing with something that even in the US here, people are protesting. No king's protest. And that people in power would not willingly do things because they think is right, because there's a lot of power in power. Nothing empowers more than power. And when people have power, their brain scans have shown that when people are in power, they are like people who suffer from brain damage. I've mentioned that several times in my columns and even on this. And therefore, we need to hold them to account. But right now, it's like no one cares. And I think I overheard someone say, who called him, that he was happy with what's going on in Nigeria. Is that what he said? Yeah. And somehow they think that the government is going to come around and do the right thing. But that never happens anywhere in the world. It never happens. It's not going to happen. And that's not advocating that the government should be overthrown. That's not advocating that there should be violence directed at people in power. It's simply saying that in the construction of democracy, there is a structural requirement for citizen participation, for democratic citizenship, for calling people in power to account, for creating circumstances so that people in power see that the people over whom they rule, who is the source of their mandate, are suffering and need their help. That is what we need. Until that happens, we might as well be a military regime.
Thank you. Well, it's good that we are, wrapping up, and we already heard using extra time. I don't know whether Prof has, Professor Lɪධᴇ, do you have hope that all is going to be well? That
it has to be well, because I'm not in power yet.
Wait now, I know you are going to be in power. You are going to be in power.
So that's well.
This is what I want to say. In the Bible, there are times that a prophecy will come and say by this time tomorrow. that so a fuel, can this fuel thing, because like Professor Kwerogi said, fuel is the underlining thing for almost everything. Can fuel go back to where President Tinubu met it? Met it at...
you need to define where. What price was
at,
that?
At 196 naira per liter, rice at 30,000 naira per bag, and
Okay, so you should also, as you are doing that, you should also say that the salary that they just increased to 70,000 should also go back.
The salary is increased to 70,000. You are in that. You know that it's just a marginal increase, and you know that the tax you are paying, now, the tax that you are paying now was not what you are paying.
No, on a more serious note, we can have a better society. I think we should still go back to the economy that Professor Farouk does not like and won't like, is that forces of demand and supply must determine the price. So if we can have more refinery, more.
But is that being done? Is that being done now? Or we are just talking rhetoric?
It is being done. Don't worry. The fact that you did not hear it does not mean that it's not in the pipeline. We have private investor in Nigeria now for that, and another one is coming very soon. So if we can have 3 or 4 and they are pumping the same volume like this, the price will crash naturally.
What about the Warrior and Port Harcourt refineries? Those ones are waking up.
See, you go and sell this your father's property that are not useful again.
Okay, maybe there will be a part 2 we are almost running off. I think.
Thank you so much. I think I'm done.
Thank you very much, Professor Idokun.
Thank you.
Fantastic contributions there. Man of very amiable mien. I love it, and I think we can still do another one. I hope when we say we beckon on you, you come again, and
you know how to send chats that will make us accept.
And I know Professor Farouk, you will not be tired. The 5th cap is going to be there. Maybe one day when the narrative is being reversed, then you can also come again to say, well, we shouted and government listened to it. One thing about President Tinubu is that when people shout, sometimes he had already taken a particular direction, and when they shout, he listens. And I just hope that...
I think he's the only president that has done that in Nigeria. He's the only president I know.
Well, okay, that's a plus for him. But I wish that many of the advices that even you had given today and Professor Kwerogi, that he would, if peradventure he would to another line, maybe not definitely subsidy retention, or do you see that coming, Professor Kwerogi?
What's that? No, I don't see that coming. I think that horse has...
So he's in my school now.
Well, there are many things to say together, but I'm sure, Professor...
Oh, okay. I hope it will. I agree with the last point you made earlier, which is that if we have enough private refineries and there's competition which causes price to crash, fine. It's as good as subsidy, because as I said earlier, the word subsidy means assistance. So let's keep to that.
Okay.
Assistance to those who need it. But I think it has been given a different meaning. It has been made to be a devil term. And so that when people hear subsidy, they think, oh, okay. So let's call it assistance, the everyday English word for it. It's going to bring assistance to everyday folks. And that's our concern. However you bring down the price is not, frankly, the issue. It is that it should be affordable.
Okay.
And we all agree that the prices of petrol control the prices of everything else. And so we hope that and I want to
okay.
He prices
okay.
When people protested, he changed his mind. The other person who never changed his mind was Buhari. Whatever he decided was it. He could, frankly, people didn't even protest. So we hope that
people are not soldiers. It's only Buhari that is soldier among these 3 people you just mentioned.
Okay, we have to go home. We have to go. We want to say thank you. I'm waving at everybody. You have been
appreciate it.
very wonderful.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank
Thank
you
you.
all our participants. And you are the reason why we are here. Thanking also the participating radio stations, particularly Wash 94.9 FM, in whose studio we have made the situation room. And last of all, let me thank my co-moderator. It's been so wonderful. That voice, I would touch you to tap an anointing from you today. Thank you so much.
No, I've had a swell time here, just listening to all of these undiluted knowledge by our prestigious professors. It's been a pleasure. And as well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
God bless you.
So, Lagos, Nigeria, I think that, of course, is the size of the broadcast on the conversation this night. It's 10 minutes after 10. Thank you so much for being here. Coming up, we've got, amazing time here on Wash 94.9 FM. Tomorrow morning, do all to be a part of the conversation. Perhaps we'll do all to review, some of the highlights and, points that we shared on the boiling points this morning on the Daily Brief, and tomorrow morning from 8 o'clock. If I'm not mistaken, yes, 8 o'clock. So, of course, more of that coming your way here on this dial. So, if I were you, as always, as I would say, keep it here, keep living Lagos, and good evening.
Recording stopped.